All right, so we're going to take a look at section 1.5, get started on this combinations of functions. So 1.5, here's the assignment that we'll be working on. We'll do another 1.5 later on this week for a different topic. But what we're going to do is we're going to be given two different functions. So like, for example, most of the problems that you'll work with today, you'll be using f of x and g of x. Now, these are just labeled as such. In the future, they're going to be different. So don't get used to thinking that every time you see f, it's x squared minus 1. But you probably don't as it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some different things, like f plus g of 1. So what do you think that you would do? All right, well, what we'd want to do is we want to take both of these together, okay? We'd want to really, you could think about it as doing f of 1 plus g of 1 is one way to think about it. And so we'd say, okay, well, then that means we'd have for f of 1, I did this to color code. So f of 1 plus g of 1 is what we want to do. So f of 1, we'd use this one and say, hey, that's 1 squared minus 1. And then we would add g of 1, which is going to be 1 minus 2. So then we'd end up, we go through and simplify this. 1 squared is 1, minus 1, plus that 1, minus 2. 1 minus 1 is 0, plus 1 is 1, take away 2 is negative 1. And so we would get negative 1. Now that's one way to go about it. Sometimes what we want to do, though, is we might just say instead, we could do f plus g of x to start off with. And we would start off and we just add the two together. And so that really would be f of x plus g of x. So f of x then is the x squared minus 1 plus the g of x, which is x minus 2. And we combine like terms, and so we'd end up with x squared plus x minus 3. And then we can do the same thing. Now we can say, okay, well, f plus g of 1. Do you think it should be the same as this one? All right, so 1 squared plus 1 minus 3 is 1 plus 1 minus 3. 1 plus 1 is 2, minus 3 is negative 1. So either way you do it, it's going to come out to be the same value. And that will work for really for any of these, okay? So f times g of 4. So we could look at it either way. So then we could do f of 4 times g of 4 is what we want to do. So when we do the multiplying, there won't be anything in there. It's just going to be f and g, okay? They're not going to use an x for times because we don't do that anymore. We're not in 3rd grade anymore. We're not going to use a dot because of what we're going to talk about later this week. So we're just going to put them side by side next to each other. So f of 4, we put f of 4 into there. So we'd have 4 squared minus 1 times g of 4. So that's going to be 4 minus 2. 4 squared minus 1. 4 squared is 16, minus 1 is 15. And then 4 minus 2 will be 2. Okay? And then 15 times 2 is 30. Okay, so you just, whatever it is. Now, it's all great when there's numbers involved, but once they decide, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to have the letters, then we need to follow how it goes. So what we're going to do is the division means fractions. Okay, f is on top. So what's going to go into the parentheses? Up here, 4 went in for x. Up here, 1 went in for x. What's going to go in for x in this problem? Oops, that's supposed to be blue. T plus 2 is going to go in for x. And then on the bottom, what are we going to have? We're going to have t plus 2 minus 2. Then you can simplify. We can, if you want to FOIL that out, you can. And that would be t squared plus 4t plus 4 minus 1. We can combine like terms in the denominator. And so we just get t. And then we end up with t squared plus 4t plus 3 over t. Now, real important, we can't start crossing this t off with this t or with that t, because we have to, if we were to divide part of this, you have to divide every part in the numerator, and we can't divide 3 by t, so we can't just like cross off these t's or those t's. We can't do that. I've seen a lot of people make that mistake recently. I want to make sure this is, we leave it there. And then if you really want to be extra particular, t cannot be 0. Okay? T can't be 0 because we can't have divide by 0. All right. Other times we're going to have these word problems. And so this is one of the word problems. I forgot which number it was. This is an even one. And so we were told a company has a cost function by this, a revenue function by that. We want to find profit. Do you guys know how to find profit? All right. Profit is revenue minus cost. Is how that works. Profit is revenue minus cost. So the more revenue is money you bring in, cost is what you have to pay, to produce it, for materials, for turning the lights on, for hiring employees, all that fun stuff. Revenue is the money that you take in. So all the money that people send your way. Now all the money that people send your way is profit. Profit is all the extra above after you pay for your costs. So our revenue then is 341 plus 3.2 t. And then we're going to subtract, but we have to subtract all of the costs. So we're going to put parentheses, 254 minus 9t plus 1.1 t squared. We're going to distribute in that negative. So that's still 341 plus 3.2 t minus 254 plus 9t minus 1.1 t squared. Then we can put them in order and combine like terms. This is the only t squared, so negative 1.1 t squared. We have those two plus 12.2 t, and we have 341, take away 254, gives us positive, what, 87? 87. Okay. So, yeah. And then what they want us to do is they want us to graph this. And so if we come over here and we graph this, I graphed C. So C is the cost one. So you can see right here, our costs are less than our revenue, which is good. Past that, the costs go above, which is bad for business. And so we want to do, and we said, okay, well, this is going to come out to be negative 1.1. And I'm using X because Desmos doesn't like it when you use T. Negative 1.1 x squared plus 12.2 x plus 87. And so we can see what's going on. And right here, you can see right when, at that point, 16.1, that's when things change. Well, actually at 16.026, that's when things change. And so that's once they are the same amount. And if they're the same amount, when you subtract them, what should the value be? 0. And then, so if we come down here at 16.206, you can see that that's what happens. Before revenue is greater than cost, so you get profit. Afterwards, cost is greater than revenue, so you have a loss, is what's going on. And just to make sure that this also matches up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to write, so remember, it's revenue minus cost. You can see that it's exactly the same, that P, it matches up exactly how it covered that up. So whether, see, boom, 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 same thing. So, which is, just a little visual evidence to show that we did our subtraction correctly. So you're going to do some problems like this, a couple of word problems. Don't worry about them. If you have questions with the word problems, make sure you ask in class so we can talk about them. And if you're worried about somebody thinking that you're, silly or foolish or whatever, I don't. I promise you, I don't think you're silly or foolish if you ask questions. I think that's a brilliant idea. So send them my way if you don't want other people to know, and I won't tell who asked the questions. So, yeah. But do you have any questions so far about any of this explanation?